Hi everyone, I'm Luna Matatas and I'm a sex and pleasure educator, and I'm answering some of the questions from secretpleasuresboutique.com's Ask a Sex Educator series. So if you head over to the website secretpleasuresboutique.com and you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see some of the questions that we've answered in the past around experiences, around first times, around choosing sex toys, around shame and body confidence and pleasure. And you also have an opportunity to submit your question and maybe we'll answer it on a future blog post and video. Today's question is all about role play. So role play involves a lot of fantasy, a lot of erotic imagination. It also involves a lot of awkwardness, a lot of confidence, a lot of vulnerability. And so we're going to talk about what is role play and why does it turn some people on? How do you get started with role play? How do you even figure out like what you're into? And then finally, how do you start to build confidence and communication around role play and perhaps invite your partners to also suggest and explore roles that might be interesting for them as well. So when we think about role play, what we're referring to is a form of fantasy. And so we're bringing in one of our biggest sexual resources on our body, our erotic imagination. And we're bringing in all of these creative aspects, these inspired erotic pieces of ourselves that aren't necessarily used in our day-to-day sex or our normal sex or our go-to sex. So for a lot of people, role play is a way to spice things up. It's a way to kind of shift your erotic energies and to play with fantasy, to play with dress up, to play with characters, to play with activities that you don't normally do during sex. So it can be a great way to have a contrast from the types of sex that you're used to having. Some popular role plays include things like teacher student and doctor nurse, police officer and maybe prisoner, kidnapper and kidnapperee. And we also have role play that centers around things like power. So you may have people who are playing dominant or playing submissive roles, and they may express themselves through really defined characters, but they also may express themselves through more feelings or vibes in the moment. When we're talking about role play, it's often an opportunity for us to kind of shift into a different version of ourselves that can inspire sometimes even new arousal. So you might discover even a new way to get turned on. One of the barriers to role play is that we feel silly, we feel awkward, we feel like maybe someone's not going to enjoy this thing that we're trying to make sexy. And that's a lot of pressure on yourself. So be a little bit gentle with yourself as you start to figure out what role play might feel like as you get more comfortable with it and you allow yourself to feel more aroused. You give yourself permission to just sort of be in the moment and have fun and see silly and awkward as sexy and let go of the need to really perform or impress or to get validated by someone. What can help you build that type of confidence is also thinking about some of the attributes of the role or the character that you're interested in playing. So if you're interested in the idea of playing as a kitten, you may be really attracted to a kitten's sort of mischievousness. You may be attracted to the fact that a kitten is maybe very sweet or maybe wants lots of touch. You may be attracted to sort of the playfulness that kittens have with toys and the way that they move their bodies in a very feline and nimble way, or the primalness of kittens. So there's so many different attributes to just one expression of a potential role play. So when you're thinking about what you might find sexy, and if you're not exactly sure what it is about the doctor role play or about the nurse role play, it can help to kind of write it down. So do this exercise for yourself, and then you can talk with a partner about it. Or even if it's something just for you and for your own masturbation or for your own pleasure in sex, you can kind of tease out, what is it about the role? Is there something about the aesthetics? Is there something about, the look of this character that you're really attracted to and you want to embody through your own sort of sexual expression and energy? Is there something about the attributes like I described for the kitten? Is there something that's attractive or arousing or curious, or it creates an intense response for you when you think of yourself moving in the same way or embodying the same attributes? You may also feel that it's the dynamic between two opposing or complementary characters that's really sexy. So maybe the schoolgirl on her own doesn't really turn you on, but if the schoolgirl has a particular type of teacher, maybe that's where you get really excited, because it's also about someone engaging in this role play and witnessing you in this role play. People often approach role play thinking that they're mimicking a character, but you don't really have to mimic a character. You don't have to become, the doctor. You don't have to get super heady and super intellectual about it. It's more of a mood. It's more of a vibe. And so think about it as if you're sort of pivoting from your sexy self, and you're like, oh, hey, well, here's another outfit that my sexy self can get into. And so it's still you. And so if you're naturally affectionate, if you're really like eye contact during sex, you can put those things that you already enjoy into your role play. And so it feels like you, but just through a different lens or a different perspective. So here are a couple of tips to get started. So you're thinking about the attributes, you're thinking about the aesthetics, and then you're also thinking about the activities. So what types of things would you do as this naughty teacher? What types of things would you do as, what's another one? A naughty nurse or a pirate, or there's so many, basically the whole Halloween aisle could be ideas and inspiration for your erotic role play. So think about the types of things or equipment or props or ways that would punctuate that personality of the role play and kind of help you be a bit more mindful and present of taking up your own erotic space in these things that you find really sexy. And it can be really wonderful to share these ideas with your partner and to have a sense of, hey babe, are you interested in this? Because I've kind of been thinking it might be sexy because the uniform is hot or the outfit is cute, and it would be really fun to bend you over a desk. And so make it a sort of a verbal lubing, talking about your fantasy can really be a good way to open up communication and to do check-ins around each other's desires and to get affirmation of your sexiness and a little bit of support for maybe teasing out and figuring out what's happening. So if your partner comes to you with a role play that you're not sure about, you could say, oh, I'm not so sure about that, but tell me more. I've put in some of the popular role plays and some links to some of the accessories in the blog post so you can get inspired, get some ideas of what's out there. Some people start with the aesthetic, and so they might want to pick up the maid's uniform and then, feel themselves in it, get a little bit of sexiness in it, and then kind of think about, okay, what's this dirty little maid gonna do? So you can really start where you feel comfortable and where you have the most interest. If you're drawn to something in particular, go there and go slow and figure it out for yourself, and don't get frustrated if you don't feel confident right away. It takes time for us to return to a state of play. So remember, silly is sexy, awkward is adorable, and empathy and enthusiasm are some of the best things that you can bring to whatever you're doing. So again, I'm Luna Matatas, and I'm your sex and pleasure educator, answering questions on secretpleasuresboutique.com's website and their YouTube channel. So we will see you next time with our next sexy question.